Yo, Coach Reynoso, here's my boy.
Soltero, what's up, y'all?
What kit are you wearing right now?
This is Cartagines from the beautiful city of Cartago in Costa Rica.
Gotcha, folks. Welcome back to the show.
Marcel Hernandez, Cuban striker, was on fire this season that they actually won the title.
But shout out, dude. Hey, folks, listen. If you're listening to us right now, make sure to give us 5 stars on Spotify. Comment, like, and subscribe on the video because we're going to be covering a lot of football today because Coach Reynoso finally got the chance to sit down and watch football this week. And then, brother, I got a lot to say. I got a lot to keep up with. And I got a lot of leagues that I kind of kept an eye on this week. So I want to ask you the traditional question of where do we start?
Well, I mean, did you see Atleti beat Girona 3-0? Because that's exactly where I want to start, my friend. 3-0. We killed them, bro. And what's crazy, they finished above us last year. So this is a little personal, this one. It was our home debut of the season in the Civitas Metropolitano. But, I mean, if I'm being real, the scoreline definitely flatters us. Like, this is actually a lot tighter than 3-0 suggests. I don't want to disrespect Girona because ultimately, defensively, they had a great game. Griezmann couldn't get into the match. Julian Alvarez, who makes his first start for Atletico, could not get into the game. And for the most part, our offense was pretty disjointed. It really was. The difference in this game was our difference makers. It was Griezmann off of a set piece, getting a really nice free kick. And we took advantage of a really bad goalkeeping performance of Gazzaniga because he ultimately had, couple of gaffes in this match. A really bad mistake that led to the set piece where he basically handles it outside the box. And then Llorente, another difference maker for us. He was immense when we won the title a couple of years ago. He's shown up this season so far. He scored an absolute rocket. An absolute rocket. Broke Gazzaniga's fingers, it looked like. He roofs it, bro. But Gazzaniga probably should do better there, man. He probably should. The third goal was consolation as Girona were committed a lot men forward. So, yeah, it ends 3-0, but I don't know. Atleti's had a weird start to the season. I'm not surprised, though, right? This is why I wasn't saying, oh, Atleti's going to win the title. We're going to, beat Madrid. We're going to beat Barcelona. There's still a lot of questions left to be answered for this Atleti team. I will say, though, I think as the season progresses, we still have a lot of room to improve, and I see Atleti getting a nice stride, but we got to build to it.
It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. Conor Gallagher getting his chance to make an appearance for the I almost said national team. he plays like it is a national team, man. He wears his heart on his sleeve, making his appearance in front of the fans. But then also Koke getting a goal, man. That's something I don't usually see. Is Koke getting on the board here. Atletico Madrid defeating Girona 3-0. I will say for Girona, it was a little bit of the opposite. I think a big factor for why they lost today was the lack of difference makers in their own team, bro. Savio missing is such a big hole, dude. Such a big hole. He was such a key creator for this team that ultimately led them to that Champions League qualification last year. And then he would feed the ball off to Dovbyk, who was just absolutely killer in front of goal. Now you're missing 2 of your important 3 starters up top completely, dude. And I think that was a big missing part for Girona because they did possess the ball well, especially in that second half. They tried to impose themselves, but they just really couldn't beat one-on-one these Atletico Madrid defenders. They couldn't find a way to really create an opportunity. And I think it shows because Girona ultimately did lose a lot of good players in the transfer window. And it just worries me a little bit for what they're going to be able to do this year. I think for certain they won't be able to have the magical season that they had last year. But thinking about the fans, I don't think they're looking for that. I think they're looking for any sort of European qualification, be it Conference League, if you will, dude, because that will be seen as an achievement overall if Girona is able to qualify in 6th or 7th place in La Liga. So I think Atletico is the clear better team here, and it showed today.
But isn't that frustrating, man? Because I had the same thoughts watching this game because Girona were so fantastic with their difference makers last season. But you said 2 of them are gone. There's a third one gone too, Jan Couto, right? The really attack-minded fullback also gone, and it just really shows for Girona. But the reason why I say it's frustrating is because they're in the Champions League this year. Why not repurpose that money that you made over the summer? And they did a little bit. I don't want to say they've had a terrible offseason where they got Abel Ruiz as the direct replacement for Dovbyk. He's going to be fine. He's not, he's obviously not going to get Dovbyk numbers, but I think that's a good replacement. But why didn't they try to get more established wingers? They have the money to do it. Or maybe they don't, right? Maybe they just wanted to put it back into the club, say, all right, we got 1 year Champions League. Let's just try and build up our money, and maybe we'll be back here in 3 or 4 years. It's just frustrating, though, because I think this Girona side has a really good foundation. They have a good base. Their coach, Michel, has been fantastic for them. So I just think that if they had bought the right players this offseason, they could have been a little bit closer to the team that they had last year.
They definitely could have. I just think they end up being one of the few teams, honestly, that wasn't able to revamp themselves in the transfer window. That was a surprise appearance in the Champions League. I think they're similar to Bologna. Bologna losing a lot of their players, and they just lost to Napoli today, 3-0. Same type of vibes over there. Yeah. I think they'll be happy to even be competitive in the Champions League. But teams like Leverkusen solidify themselves in the summer transfer window, and then a team like Aston Villa spent big as well as a surprise, or rather just the team you're not used to seeing qualify for the Champions League. Girona just isn't that team, I think, ultimately. They're not that type of institution right now, and it's going to end up hurting them in the long run. So as I mentioned, if they make Conference League, I think I'll be happy with that. We'll have to wait and see how they do in La Liga. But I also just want to give a quick shout out, Pablo Barrios. Best game I've seen him play.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, he's so solid for us. I'll just be curious to see where his career really goes. He's just a solid midfielder. Can pass the ball. He's really quick with it. He's quicker than Koke now, especially since Koke is getting older. So I see Barrios being our starting midfielder every single game for the foreseeable future. What's really interesting is who is he going to be paired up with now? Because now it could be Koke, Rodrigo de Paul, or Conor Gallagher. There's actually a lot that Diego Simeone could play with. He could also change formation. Right now we're doing 2 in midfield the first 2 games. Simeone, last year we usually had 3 in midfield, and I could see him returning to that formation. That way he could play Barrios and maybe both De Paul and Gallagher, or maybe it's some sort of combination of Griezmann, Gallagher, and Barrios. But there's a lot that Simeone could play with in the midfield, but Barrios is definitely going to be one of our main guys.
I think so, man. Atletico, I mean, I will say the fans in the stands look so excited. They're hyped for this season. Yeah. They are hyped. The energy is super, super solid at home. So big win there, 3-0. Let's stay in La Liga. Let's stay in La Liga and just quickly highlight the biggest things that happened because Real Madrid played today. They played today against Real Valladolid and also won 3-0 after tying their first game. Goals from Valverde, Brahim Diaz, and Endrick. Endrick getting his debut goal. I think today was all about showing the depth that Real Madrid has because big news came out that Jude Bellingham will be injured out for the next month with some weird-ass injury, a plantar, I don't even know what it was. And so who steps up in his place? Arda Güler, which I was really happy to see now that he's going into the season with health, whereas last year he was injured. Yeah. He gets a shot to really put in a really good, solid performance in front of the Bernabeu. I like what I saw from him, but I think it's telling that the goals came from guys that came off the bench. And Brahim Diaz, who as always, I think will prove to be a huge player for Real Madrid in the same way that he was last year, bro, because he had so many moments coming off the bench and then oftentimes starting as well and just finding a way to get that assist, getting that goal when it's needed, especially in the Champions League too. He was such a clinical player, surprisingly. Yeah. And then Endrick getting minutes off the bench, a situation that we've criticized because he's going to be doing that for the entire season, is just coming off the bench. There's very little chance he actually cracks into the starting lineup, but in the minutes that he's given, the story to watch is can he provide and be productive? And today he was with an absolute scorcher of a goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great start for Endrick. I didn't expect him to get his first goal so soon. So he's already ahead of schedule, in my opinion, making himself very comfortable at Real Madrid. So just keep it coming, Endrick. Get off the bench, make an impact. And who knows, like, when in the middle of the season, when Ancelotti really needs to rotate a lot of guys, if Endrick's already scoring, a decent amount off the bench, Ancelotti will have no problem starting him, which would be crazy considering how young he is. And like I said, I just didn't expect it. I expect Endrick to get off to a quick start like this. So just keep it up, man. Just keep it up.
Gotta be huge for his confidence, man. Especially after that Copa America.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Especially after that. Staying in La Liga, Athletic Bilbao versus Barcelona. Before we even talk about the two teams and how they perform, Barcelona came into this game with a lot of drama, a lot of criticism attached to him.
Surprise, surprise, bro. Surprise. We've been saying this for the last two seasons, man. Nothing's changed.
It's getting worse. And people are really starting to harp on Laporta for how he's been managing this entire situation. Yeah. Now losing German stud midfielder Ilkay Gundogan to the team that they bought him from.
Isn't that stupid?
Manchester City.
Isn't that stupid?
Yeah, bro.
Like, I'm not even a cookie cut of this. This is just pure stupidity. How are you going to go get a guy who's one of the best midfielders at the time from one of the best clubs in Manchester City, have him for one season, and just be like, we don't have any money. Please leave so we can register Dani Olmo. Please go back to Manchester City. What's the point,
I just don't get it, man.
What a waste. And what's even crazier, he was their best, most consistent player last season.
Yes, dude.
And they were just like, we need Olmo. Gundogan, you got to go, please. Yep. And he's just like, fuck this club, bro. I'm sorry.
He was critical, dude, of how his time was there.
Yeah, his post basically was like, look, I gave everything for Barcelona. I was really happy to be here, but considering the circumstances, I guess all I can do now is help them financially. So I'm going back to Manchester, and so be it. But it's just a shit show. It's just an absolute shit show.
What a great move for Manchester City, getting their boy, their guy back. He is going to slot into that system so seamlessly. He is Manchester City through and through. I'm excited to see him back in that light blue in this title contending season once again. So I'm feeling good about Manchester City getting Gundogan back. But in this game, going into this match, I was excited because we got Nico Williams, the Williams bros, coming to Barcelona Stadium and facing off against the mighty Robert Lewandowski and Lamine Yamal, for example. And more than anything, what excited me the most is we got a Mexican involved. A Mexican involved in this game, and 20-year-old Alex Padilla starting at goalkeeper for Athletic Bilbao. And at the end of the day, I had a pretty solid game. Pretty solid game, man. I hadn't heard about him.
Yeah,
honestly, I hadn't heard about him until I saw like a post that was promoting it. And I was like, what the fuck? We have a Mexican in goal? And I was excited going into this game because of that narrative. And honestly, I thought he did pretty well at the end of the day, forcing some really good saves. But it's Barcelona's offense, Robert Lewandowski and Lamine Yamal, who are both off to such a great start. And it's what we highlighted before the season started, that it's not about transfers with Barcelona, but more so the players within just improving their game. Lamine Yamal representing that fully, bro. Getting a goal in this game, although it was slightly deflected. A goal and assist so far in the season. And Leva already in Pichichi contention.
Yeah, they're both going to cook this season. Regardless of the situation, they're just too good. They're at least getting paid, so they're going to show up for Barcelona. But I mean, Athletic, once again, like, I can't with this team, bro. I can't. But for Barcelona, a fantastic result. Actually, huge result. But yeah. Hey, Sunset scored.
Yeah, he's on fire. He is on fire right now, bro. Yeah. That's how the game ends. Barcelona winning 2. Atleti Bilbao with 1 goal. Barcelona leads the table right now with 2 wins right off the bat. It'll be fun to see this title race going in La Liga. But let's get out of Spain, shall we?
I do want to say just one last thing, not even like an in-depth thing, but Villareal beat Sevilla this week, and they tied Atletico last week as well. But it was a Monday game, so we weren't able to talk about it. I've actually been impressed with Villareal so far. They actually made a lot of changes this summer, and all of them, in my opinion, very positive, very forward going. I think their midfield has gotten very strong, and the way they played Atleti was really good. And honestly, I thought Villareal were the better team, at least in the way that they bossed the game and the way that they controlled the ball. So Villareal, I'm going to keep an eye on him. I'm going to keep an eye to see how they go for the next 3-4 games, because if they can keep this going, then maybe they take the place of Girona last year and they end up trying to fight for some sort of position in the top 4. I'm liking what I'm seeing very early on from Villareal.
That's always one of the more fun narratives in that Liga, is who's going to get that 4th place spot.
Yeah.
Because the top 3 are always solidified. Could be Villareal's year this time, man. Yeah. It could. It's always a good day when Soltero's Atletis wins and then Reynoso's Liverpool side wins, man. Liverpool defeating Brentford 2-0. Luis Diaz and Salah scoring today. Arne Slot's home debut. And it was great, bro. It was great. Our second 2-0 result in a row, and also a record attendance for a league game at Anfield. 60,000 people came to watch today's game. Amazing. Although the atmosphere was interesting when you compare it to Jurgen Klopp's peak. But I think that's kind of what represents what today was about, because this Liverpool team under Arne Slot is very interesting, bro. You know how they say dog owners look like their dogs? Okay. Like if you own like a pit bull, you're probably a dude like in a wife beater and tattoos and a cholo. Or if you own like a poodle, you're like a fancy lady, you know, like a Southern belle. Yeah. It's a certain type of vibe, right? You match your dog. I think I think football has a little bit of the same thing, man, because you look at Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, and just like Jurgen Klopp's personality, which was one of extremity, aggressiveness, of passion. That's how Liverpool play, bro. Nonstop relentlessness, back and forth, so much energy. And at its peak, it was beautiful to watch. But then we ultimately saw it flame out this past year. Arne Slot's Liverpool, I think, is very indicative of his personality, bro. Because you watch him on the sidelines, very calm, very composed, doesn't lose his mind, doesn't have a lot to say out loud in the way that Jurgen Klopp did. And Liverpool so far, be it against weak teams in Brentford and Ipswich Town, have shown a new level of composure that I'm actually really happy to see, because as a Liverpool fan, we cannot forget that for the past 2 seasons, we have had major issues with conceding early in these type of matches. Against Brentford, against Ipswich Town, these type of teams, we've conceded early and put ourselves in really tough spots, ultimately usually getting out of them, but still such an annoyance as a fan of the squad. So far, much more security, maybe not as aggressive as Jurgen Klopp's ideal team, but still, they figured out how to balance the match so far and, really impose themselves when it's needed to, especially in the second half of games. So I'm really happy with how Liverpool is looking right now, and I think we'll actually get a real answer next week when we play against Manchester United, a much tougher team, and Arne Slot's first big test.
Yeah, it is definitely a bit more conservative, or at least a lot slower paced when it comes to Liverpool's build-up. There's a lot less overlap from Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Also, McAllister's a lot deeper too. He's completely fine with coming deep, getting on the ball, and just spreading it from there, rather than trying to pull the strings from a more advanced position. Slot's leaving Szoboszlai to do that. Yeah. So, I mean, so far it's working. I can't criticize anything, but as you said before, it's against 2 very weak teams. Ipswich, a championship level side, and Brentford, I'll get to them, but they were very poor today. Yeah. So Liverpool under Slot so far 2 for 2. It's perfect, but definitely different, man. Yeah, and like how you said, like it definitely transferred to the team in the way that they play, but maybe the stands too, bro, because that first half was quiet. What is up with the energy, man? It was crazy. I was like, did the people of Liverpool forget to take their afternoon tea or something, man? Because they were just asleep for that first half. But Liverpool, I mean, they got an early goal through Luis Diaz in the 13th minute, and honestly, they just controlled the game. Brentford, they didn't do anything. And I was just like, this is Brentford. I looked at their off-season transfer window. They got, Fabio Carvalho from Liverpool, actually, but he's a non-established player, so he's just going to kind of be in and out of the team. And they got Igor Thiago, a striker, I believe, from Belgium, but he's injured right now. Okay. And that's it. That's basically it. The rest of the team is the same squad that has been there for the last 2 seasons. Jesus. It's annoying because we know their ceiling. We know the highest they can finish is mid-table, and they cannot punch above their weight. It's the exact same players. It's the exact same style of play. They can compete in the Prem. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is Brentford's a mid-table team, nothing more with this team that they have.
We'll see.
So for Liverpool, this was an easy win, and for Brentford, I'm just like, dude, this is more of the same shit we've seen the last 2 seasons. I'm over Brentford. There was a time when I was like, Brentford could be something low-key like a Brighton, but their transfer windows over the last 2-3 seasons have been very dull, and it's showing early on in this season.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think they overachieved the first 2 seasons that they were back in the Prem, but it was due to Thomas Frank's genius, man. But I think asking him to do that once again for a 3rd year in a row is just stupidity, bro. Like, help the guy out.
Yeah, get him 4 or 5 new players. You've been in the Prem for 4 or 5 seasons now. Use some of that money, but they're just not doing it.
They're risking it. They're risking it. I think this year, I agree, will probably be the weakest year that we've seen from Brentford since they came back to the Prem. The question is it enough to get relegated, or are they going to be right on that cusp?
That's going to be a fun watch for Brentford. It might be a relegation battle this year. I think they'll have enough experience to see it out. But yeah, I'm not expecting anything great from this team.
What about Wolves?
Wolves, man. Holy shit.
I was curious, bro, because you're not on social media. Soltero's famously off the grid. He's on WhatsApp, if you will, and maybe Google News or something like that. I don't know what you're on.
No, Yahoo email.
You're on Yahoo?
I'm on Yahoo.
Did you hear about what Madueke said before the game started against Wolves?
Before the game?
Like a day before, he posted something on his Instagram story.
What did he say?
So he thought he was on like his private Instagram or his personal Instagram, where I assume he only has a limited amount of following and it's probably private. But he thought he was on that account, but he was actually on his main account with thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers. And he posted on his story, "This place is shit," in regards to Wolverhampton, like the city.
Oh, like
this place
being there
sucks.
a day early or something like that?
Yeah, I think they just got there. He was probably exploring town. He's just like, this place is terrible. It's awful. And so he posts that on his story, and within minutes, people are like, bro, this is your public account. And he deletes it, and he uploads another story just being like, you lot are so quick. Like, y'all got my ass quick. Like, he was just surprised that people like got on him so quick, but also kind of regretted what he said in that moment, I would think, but deletes the post, but it was already all over the internet by the time he saw it. So everyone saw what he said about Wolverhampton. So if you watch the highlights, the reason he's getting booed extra is because of that, bro.
That's why.
It's because of that, bro.
Honestly, I couldn't figure out why, because I was just like, he has no ties to them, and he hasn't done anything to them, like, you know, like non-sportsman like. So I was like, why are they booing his ass?
So that was probably the biggest storyline of the Premier League because of that. Because going in now, either you want to see him succeed and just go off in front of these fans, or the opposite, let the fans just get in his head and shit on him. But bro, he puts up a goddamn hat trick.
So funny.
In response, scoring damn near the same goal every single time.
Every single time.
A slotted finish from that right wing side. Incredible performance from Madueke, but then also Cole Palmer getting a goal and 3 assists in this match. Chelsea defeats Wolves 6-2, bro. 6-2. And Wolves gets embarrassed in their shit town.
When you go to Wolverhampton now,
honestly, dude,
let's check it out. I bet it is shit, though. Let's be honest.
What's the U.S. equivalent then? Is it like the I'm scared to say cities right now. Yeah, it's just like
it's the Alberta of Canada or something like that. Let's go to Canada.
We got fans everywhere, but I don't want to. Yeah.
No, but the game was so entertaining. I mean, it was a goal fest. We got 8 goals. The first half was so end to end. Going into the half, it was 2-2. We got some really good goals, but yeah, the second half, Chelsea's offense just completely took over. Palmer feeding Madueke every single time, and my goodness, was he clinical every single time. Joao Felix gets on the board. He's back. Finish. He's back in London where he's happy. Honestly, it is a good signing because that, even though he didn't do a lot when they had him on loan, it was the happiest I've ever seen that man. The happiest I've ever seen him. So the fact that he's back, I think we're going to see the best of Felix. He had a great season last year with Barcelona. I think this is actually going to be a decent signing for Chelsea. But overall, Wolves' defense is just atrocious.
Awful, man.
They got completely pulled apart. They couldn't stop what was coming at them, not even remotely. Totti and the other center back were just terrible. Truly terrible. The midfield didn't help at all either. They were too busy attacking, and I think that's going to be Wolves' biggest issue this season is they can be compact like they showed against Arsenal, but in that game they had nothing offensively. And then in this game they had something offensively, but they were just completely disorganized at the back. So this is going to be a really tricky thing for the coach to figure out. How do you get the best of both worlds when it comes to Wolves? Because there are good players. I mean, Mateus Cunha was their top goal scorer last season. He got a really good goal today. You gotta maximize his ability in front of goal. Ryan Nuri, he can get forward. He's a good dribbler. Mario Lemina, the captain, honestly, I thought he was great today. He can break lines. He can do a lot. He can break up plays. He's a good midfielder. So there's a lot going for Wolverhampton, but the liabilities that they have, I mean, you get 6-2.
Who finishes higher, Brentford or Wolves?
I would say Brentford because they're a tighter team, right? Wolves right now just look all over the place, even though they might have more cutting edge players. But this is a team game, bro. And so right now, Brentford's the better team. Wolves have some fun players, but right now, the team plays atrocious.
And the fans, this must have been a nightmare of a game. You have a guy just talking shit about your town and then coming in and conquering the town himself. And then Pedro Neto as well, ex-Wolves, acquired by Chelsea, doesn't even have the decency to not celebrate when he assists Joao Felix. He's like jumping on people's backs and shit. So it's the worst situation for Wolves fans. It's a tough day in the office conceding 6 to this Chelsea side. Chelsea gets a big win there. Other Premier League results that stood out to you. What stood out to you in the Premier League? Because I got a few I need to point out.
I want to know if you and the people listening, is anybody buying Tottenham stock? Because, bro,
Not yet.
I might. I don't want to
get in early.
I might want to get in early, bro, because they dismantled Everton. Now, this is a Brentford case. Everton were horrible, and they offered nothing. And it broke my heart, too, because I actually met an Everton fan last night at the bars.
Word.
And he was so excited for the season. He was like, we got Iliman Ndiaye. We got, another really good player in the offseason.
Sean Dyche.
Sean Dyche, he can't get relegated, right? Yeah. And then I watched this game, and they were horrible. But it was Tottenham was the reason, because they were flying, man. And it was tight for a little bit. But even when it was tight, Tottenham were bossing the game. They were dictating where the ball was going, and Everton had absolutely zero response. They couldn't get it past the halfway line. It was a very dominant performance from Tottenham, and that's why, I might get in early and buy a little bit of Tottenham stock, because if they can just bring this energy to the rest of their games in the Premier League, I'm not saying they get a top 4 finish, but what I am saying is they can really build this season, gain a lot of confidence, and maybe by next season, we see a Tottenham team that we haven't seen in 6-7 years.
I would like to. I mean, I love Tottenham, and I love when they play at this level, but I'm going to be honest, bro, and I haven't seen them yet this season. I need to tune into some Tottenham games, but they do this every year, bro. They usually get off to really good starts. Even that Nuno Espiritu Santo season, they got off to like a really good start, like 6 games into the season. So I can't buy stock. I'm gonna stay put on my stock.
No, please.
I'm not buying anything yet, but I am interested. I am interested in it, and I'm happy to hear more if you have to sell me some, maybe later down the line.
Well, let me hook you just a little bit more. 19-year-old left winger Wilson Odobert, he made his debut against Everton, and dude, he looked insanely good. He was ridiculous.
Where's he from?
France.
Yeah,
he's French, which is, as we've said on this podcast before, they right now are producing the best talent in the world. He played with Burnley last year. Tottenham get him this year, and his debut with Tottenham was ridiculous. He looked like one of the best wingers in the Premier League. Again, it was against Everton, right? And I want to make that very clear. But he was killing. His combination was fantastic. He has a lot of really good hesitation dribbles. He's tricky, he's fast, and he's smart. He's 19. I can't wait to see more of this kid, because he's got a lot of raw talent, bro. And he's so young, he's only going to get better. So I think Tottenham have a gem in this kid. I really do. And then, of course, you have Heung-min Son, who has completely taken the role as the main striker for this team, especially after Harry Kane's departure. James Maddison looked really good as well. Kulusevski was actually fantastic. He made a lot of really good, tricky dribbles. And Christian Romero and Mickey van de Ven, dude, my goodness, such powerful center backs. I thought they were fantastic last season. I expect them to have an even better season this year, especially since Van de Ven's in his 2nd season in the Premier League. He had a really brilliant assist, Van de Ven. We talk about Calafiori as a really good passing center back. Van de Ven might be the best dribbling center back, because he took the ball and he just went 40 yards straight down. You can't stop him. He's a tank. And he's one of the quickest players in the Premier League as well. As a center back, it's ridiculous. So I just think Tottenham, the players that they have, are getting more comfortable with each other. And Ange Postecoglou, it seems like Tottenham really like him. He's in his 2nd season. So again, maybe not this year, but I think Tottenham can build to something really, really special. Maybe by the end of the season, or hopefully by next year. That's all I'm saying.
You also got Vicario between the sticks, which I really like. And then midfielder Bissouma Bentancur, right?
Bissouma, yeah.
But getting rid of Højbjerg, I think, represented a certain style of play that they're trying to stray away from.
Yes, so exactly.
I'm interested to see.
Bissouma scored a banger, by the way. If y'all haven't seen it, go watch it. He scored a gorgeous goal. Okay. Go check it out.
Where I am buying stock, my friend, is actually kind of in that similar table positioning in the Prem. I'm buying stock in Brighton, dude. Because this is now the 3rd different manager that they have continued to perform at the same level with. And what's exciting about Brighton, bro, what's really exciting about them this year that's different from last, we have a healthy Mitoma, dude. Healthy Mitoma. He only played 19 games last year in the Prem. That's half. I really am excited at the prospect of Mitoma now entering his prime as well, becoming a crucial part of this offense as they dismantle teams as big, Manchester United, who they defeated in the final moments of the game, with Joao Pedro getting a beautiful game winner. 2-1, Manchester United lose. They go down to Brighton's team, who is managed by a 31-year-old, bro. That's younger than producer Rudd, man.
That is actually crazy.
I'm buying stock.
31's crazy,
I'm buying stock in the sense that I believe they finished in 8th place last season. I think they finish higher.
Okay.
That's my hot take, if you will.
I like that.
I think they finish higher. 7th, 6th, whatever it might be. But I don't think they finished below 8th this time around. This team is so good, and they just got our boy Kanioglu as well. Yes. They got the Boca Juniors Argentine kid on their team. What's his fucking name?
Valentin Barco. Well, he might go to Sevilla on loan.
Okay, okay, maybe. Okay, but then Julio Enciso, who we really like. They just have so many likable players we want to get. James Milner, boss in the midfield once again.
Crazy.
I like this Brighton team, dude, and I'm buying stock. Will you be joining me?
I have the same take for Brighton as you do for Tottenham this season.
Okay.
For me, Brighton do this every year. Their first 10 to 15 games in the Prem are brilliant. They get these upset wins early on in the season. They're in the top 4, and for a split second, you're thinking, are Brighton going to get in the Champions League? The fucking Champions League? And then come the second half of the season, that's when they start waning. The consistency is the problem for Brighton. It's not the exciting football. It's not their offensive schemes. Those work. It's the consistency, because come the second half of the season, that's when they just run out of gas. It's when they run out of juice to just keep it going. I'll buy Brighton stock, but it's going to have to be after 20 games.
20, bro?
20, bro.
20?
Yeah. Because they do this every year.
12.
No.
12, bro.
No, bro.
Buy it
I bought last year. I bought last year and it depreciated like crazy, bro. I bought last year.
8th is good for Brighton, bro. It's outside like the big teams.
Realistically, 8th is great.
It's insane.
You're absolutely right. Don't get me wrong, but they got me thinking that they can finish 4th, and that's why I get it's personal with me. It's personal.
Right.
You know what I mean? But trust me, bro. Come January, if Brighton's still like 6th, 7th place, I'll buy.
We'll talk.
It'll be pricier, but I'll pay the price.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just getting a great deal right now. That's all, folks. Folks, let me know if you're buying into my stock here that I'm selling to Brighton. Do they finish above 8th place? Let me know. Where we did have probably the most important result of the weekend with Manchester City just dismantling Ipswich Town. That was given. That was
Holland hat-trick, by the way.
That's the biggest thing.
Pretty crazy.
And it was a good hat-trick, too.
Yeah.
It wasn't a poacher's hat trick or anything.
Yeah, got a penalty.
And then outside the box, and then another nice finish in the box.
Yeah. They scored 3 goals in 4 minutes.
Good Lord.
Yeah, Ipswich had a nice 5-minute lead, just by the way.
They did. Yeah, they did.
And then City did City shit.
Yeah. They're looking really good so far. But then Arsenal defeating Aston Villa, an incredibly tough test away from home where they had lost points last year at a crucial point of the season that ultimately led to them getting 2nd place. This was a big win for Arsenal. You could tell for the mentality of these players, and also Arteta low-key, defeating Aston Villa away from home in a convincing fashion as well. 2-0 with goals from Trossard and Thomas Partey. Arsenal with an emphatic 2-0 win against Aston Villa.
Massive result. Even though this was the 2nd game of the season, you could sense the tension in the stadium just from the TV screen for this match, because this was the first real test of the season for the top 4. Villa finished in 4th place last year. Arsenal were in 2nd place, excruciatingly right behind Manchester City. So this was a huge test for Arsenal to send the message to the rest of the Premier League that they are here for title contention once again. Mm-hmm. But this was an opportunity for Aston Villa to make a message for themselves and say, look, we're going to try and upset a lot of teams this season. Arsenal get the win on the road, but bro, Villa should have won this game.
Dude, that save from David Raya on the line. Ollie Watkins should have finished that one, man.
Yeah.
And they go up 1-0, and this is a different game.
Different game, bro. And not only...
This is Villa, though. This is Villa, man.
Watkins should have finished. He had 2 chances. He had 2 really good chances. One of them, honestly, I almost want to call it a sitter. It was the one that just came laterally to him, and he had the entire left-hand side of the goal to aim at, but he just pulled it wide. I thought it was a really poor finish from Watkins, which is very disappointing considering how good he was last season. But even if you don't count Watkins' chances, Villa were relentless offensively in this game. Their dynamicism really showed. Morgan Rogers was brilliant.
I'm loving this guy, dude.
He was brilliant.
I love how
dude.
direct he is.
He's so direct.
Yeah.
And I love his hesitation. Like, he's so powerful, yet he's just as tricky on the ball. He's an absolute joy to watch. And I finally figured out the best description of him. He's not a dribble penetrator. He's a ball carrier. He just carries the ball from one place to another. It's almost like he grabs it and just goes like a rugby player.
It's rugby.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
He has a completely different style of dribbling that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he's a joy to watch. I can't wait to see more of this guy.
I will say, dude, he's lacking end product right now.
Absolutely.
There's been multiple runs where he has amazing runs, finds himself in amazing space, but then like, it's weird. It's consistent with how weird he hits the ball. He like doesn't get enough power on it. He like slips his foot sometimes.
Slips it.
And either goes straight to the goalkeeper or he does aim it well, but it's going soft and the keeper saves it. I've seen it happen now multiple times in these 2 matches. Maybe this is just a small sample size. Maybe just a small sample size, but if he can fix that part up, he's an absolute star.
Oh, dude, if he fixed that, he'd be an absolute star. Either way, I think Unai Emery can get the best of him if he just if he tells him to link up a little bit more, dribble, but then lay it off. Maybe don't shoot, maybe don't cross. But either way, I thought Villa were fantastic in this match. There was like a 30-40 minute spell where Arsenal really couldn't do anything with the ball, and when Villa did get it, they were deadly on the counterattack, but they couldn't get anything from it. And this is what I was talking about last week. For Villa, it's either going to be pure ecstasy or absolute heartbreak. And this was heartbreaking because they should have gotten at least a draw from this game. And honestly, like I said, they should have won it. They were the better team. An unfortunate event with Rodgers getting involved defensively. The ball pops at Trossard and boom, it's 1-0.
Yep.
And Arsenal get a little lucky, but hey, they played the game. It was 0-0. Villa couldn't take their chances. Trossard gets his, he puts it away. That's ultimately the difference. Very frustrating if you're Villa, but for Arsenal, you passed the first huge test of the season, man.
Yeah, great for Arsenal. I wonder if this is the type of season for Villa where they finish below where they finished last year. They finished in 4th. Maybe they ended in 6th or 7th, but they do pretty well in the Champions League. Maybe this is the type of year where they focus on European football, because that's what they were missing last year, dude. The fact they went out in the Conference League in the semifinals against Olympiacos, I think, was almost embarrassing, just in the sense of looking at the value of each team, comparing those 2 different leagues. Olympiacos balled out, though, and they deserved it because they went on to win the trophy. They're a great team. I don't want to disrespect them, but Villa should have won on paper. And so I wonder if this season they make that their priority, is those European nights, those Champions League nights. This is a special moment. This is what we're all looking forward to. You know, it's all right if we end up losing to Arsenal, end up in 5th or 6th place in the league. Let's focus in on the big matches in Europe and thrive there.
I'd love to see that, dude. The atmosphere of Villa Park was crazy hosting Arsenal. The Champions League nights are going to be awesome, dude. I'm excited. And imagine if they get like a crazy draw where they host Madrid or something.
Oh,
like that'd be
that's a new format.
It's a new format, so it's possible.
I wonder how that's all going to look, man.
That's
so
crazy.
Villa's going to be in for some special nights, dude.
Yeah.
Special nights. That's it for me in the Premier League. I actually want to go to Germany.
Let's go to Germany.
Let's go to Germany because it started off with Bayer Leverkusen doing Bayer Leverkusen things once again, winning 3-2, while at the same time Bayern Munich also won 3-2 in a very similar close type of matchup. And it actually prompted a question in me that we haven't discussed yet on the podcast. But do you think Bayer Leverkusen is winning the league again?
Dude,
Who's winning it, dude?
Wow. I don't even know if I've really committed time to think about this. I think if I didn't look at these results, also Leverkusen, I think, won the Super Cup last week as well in late dramatic fashion. If I hadn't looked at these results, I think I just would have said Bayern, just because they have pretty much the exact same team. They've actually improved their team, for example, by getting Michael Olise. And I was actually very supportive of that transfer because he's an absolute baller. He's going to have a lot of fun in Germany. So just considering Bayern's pedigree as well, I would say that they would go on to win the league. But with Leverkusen already getting off to a really good start, I'll still go Bayern, but I mean Leverkusen might put on one of the best title defenses we've seen in Germany. And honestly, I hope they do.
Yeah, I think they will.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna win it. I think they're gonna win it again. I'm just so surprised how many people they got to stay at the club and how little they lost. Honestly, And the biggest one being Xabi Alonso staying when everyone thought that he was going to go to, Madrid or Liverpool. That was massive. And then with Champions League football now around the corner, I think the energy is going to remain just as good as it was this past year. And so maybe it's why we saw a similar type result where it's just magic. It's just energy. It's late game drama once again. I'm excited for Bayer Leverkusen this season. I think they're the team to beat, and the impetus is on Bayern Munich to try to dethrone this Bayer Leverkusen side. So I'm interested to see how this Munich side, their mentality, because it's not the same Bayern Munich team of the years past that dominated for 10 years straight. It's a different team. I want to see how the team's mentality looks in this type of season where they're the ones now that have to prove that they're the better team and not the other way around.
Yeah, that'll be really cool, and hopefully it leads to being a really fun title contention battle between Leverkusen and Munich. What's really interesting though is the Champions League factor again. Leverkusen won the Europa League last year, and they didn't really get tested to like the quarterfinals, low key the semis.
Well,
that's actually true. Yeah, true. Yeah. Very, very, very true. That was just pure luck that Leverkusen got through, honestly. Like pure luck. But in general, the Champions League is just way more intense. Way more intense. So Bayern Munich have been in the Champions League for the last, I don't even know, 20 years, right? So they're used to having both the Bundesliga battle and a Champions League run. I'm curious to see how Leverkusen do it. Again, that's why I'm going Munich is purely pedigree here, and considering that they do have a lot of the same players. But, dude, Leverkusen might do something special once again, and it'll be brilliant to see no matter what.
And then I'm also interested to see, what does Dortmund have to say about all this in regards to the title race? And if not the title race, then my biggest question for Dortmund, because I checked up on him this week when they played against Frankfurt and won 2-0, was can they challenge for the Champions League again after the incredible season they had last year where it was deserved? They were rightfully the second best team in all the Champions League with their performances. My question going into today's match was, can they compete for the Champions League once again? I think the answer is yes.
Okay,
I think the answer is yes. First off, to start, I didn't know this until last week when I checked. Edin Terzic left. He's gone.
Did he really?
Yeah, he's gone. He said that he doesn't want to, that he believes this new generation, this new era that they're entering should be led by a different man and not himself. So he just resigned from the position. You get Nuri Sahin as the new coach for this Dortmund side. You know about him?
Yeah, he's an ex-Dortmund player.
And then looking at their transfers, I think it's interesting what they've gone through. They lost Mats Hummel, which is a huge player, big game player, center back for this team that I thought was just crucial in their games, especially in the knockout stage games. In the Champions League, they lose Hummels. They lose Marco Reus as well, who scored in his debut for LA Galaxy. Shout out,
dude.
Gonna ball out in the MLS.
Oh, easy.
They lose Niklas Füllkrug.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Big name, big boy.
He was so good.
Yeah. Dude, he was so good.
He was so good for Dortmund in the Champions League.
They got him from Werder Bremen, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where they got him from. He had an incredible season for them. Was it there one season or two? I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
But a late bloomer, already past his 30s, but an absolute baller that now West Ham gets to reap the rewards of. And then they lose Jadon Sancho, who goes back to Manchester United after having him on loan. And we saw the best of Jadon Sancho with this Dortmund jersey once again. What they did do in response was they acquired Jan Couto from Girona, which we mentioned is an important player. They get Pascal Gross from Brighton.
I did see that. Yeah. Honestly, great signing. It's a great signing.
A very Dortmund signing here. Pascal Gross, 31 or 33. I'm not sure, but he's in his 30s. They get Guirassy, the striker from Stuttgart, who hasn't had a chance to make his debut because he's going through an injury right now, but that's a baller right there. I think he was the second highest scorer last year.
Yeah.
They get Waldemar Anton, who is a center back for Stuttgart, who led that backline to second place last year. And then I didn't know, but he got a call up to Germany during the Euros as well. He just didn't see playing time.
Yeah.
And then they also get Maximilian Bayer, I think is how you say it, Beier.
Oh, yeah, Bayer, yeah.
The striker from Hoffenheim, I believe, who's 21 years old. He's a youngster, a young German, but his numbers are good. His numbers are really good within the Bundesliga. So the question is, can he play in these bigger matches in the Champions League, or is he a Bundesliga-only striker? Regardless, the numbers are really good. That's who they do. That's what they do in response to losing these really key, crucial players. I think it's pretty good. I think this is a good response to losing important players. And what we saw so far was their depth showing itself in this match against Frankfurt, where it was really tight for a long time until Bino Gittins, the Englishman, came on and got himself a brace in this match to get all 3 points. Nice. We have a lot of football to be left to be seen for Dortmund, but I think the potential is there to have another good Champions League run because you still have Julian Brandt pulling the strings. You still have Adeyemi up top with his energy. And the core pieces, I think, are still there and also in their prime at a good age to be able to compete at a high level.
I'll take that. It's just I don't see this team going for the title in Germany once again. I just think it's really tough considering how good Leverkusen are now, and obviously Bayern are Bayern. But for Dortmund, it's
kind of weird.
I just think, I don't know. I feel like it's too much change for Dortmund too, because also Jan Madsen's gone too, and he was so good as a fullback for them. That's actually, I didn't realize how much changed at Dortmund. The coach too.
And the coach is like, this is too much for me. I'm out.
Damn. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
it's a lot of talent still. It's a lot of talent.
It is. But I think they're like a knockout team. That's why I agree. I don't think they're going to challenge for the Bundesliga. But I think in a knockout setting, this team is very, very tough to face against.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe it's a Dortmund mentality. Maybe it's the stadium. Maybe it's just the energy of these players. But I think they're born and bred for that now. And I think that's where they will thrive.
Yeah, especially with the new Champions League format. Then yeah, I could see Dortmund having another crazy run.
Yeah, bro, they had me apologize and making fun of like I gotta show love this time.
Yeah,
I gotta show the love. But that's what it's looking like in Germany right now. Unless you have anything else to say about that region.
Nah.
Now we're at the point of the show where we can go anywhere.
All I have left is actually Leagues Cup final.
Let's touch on Leagues Cup, man. With Columbus Crew lifting the title, winning 3-1 against LAFC. Columbus Crew are Leagues Cup champions, winning the trophy in front of their home fans. What an atmosphere. What a performance, with ultimately Cucho Hernandez breaking the deadlock after it was 1-1 with a beautiful goal going past Hugo Lloris, and then Russell Rowe sealing it to make it 3-1. Columbus Crew are champions, and they're the 2024 Leagues Cup champions.
Yeah, Cucho Hernandez, he's been killing this entire Leagues Cup. And 2 goals, 1 assist in this Leagues Cup final. He destroyed LAFC. He was impossible to defend against. And the first half, I just couldn't believe how bad LAFC were. It was pathetic, actually. They completely played into Columbus Crew's identity, which is if you give Columbus Crew all of the possession, they're just going to punish you. They're going to make you hate defending, and they're not going to let you out of the final third. And LAFC were just fine with just sitting very deep and only using their front 3 as outlets on breakaways. That's it. They had no interest in pushing their men forward. They had no interest in trying to possess the ball or at least close down the space and make it tough for the Columbus Crew when they did have the ball. And it just was a really easy half for Columbus. I was so disappointed because LAFC were destroying all of their opponents too. And I honestly think they got scared. The last time they played Columbus was in LA. They lost 5-1. It was their worst defeat in their history. And then prior to that, it was the final in Columbus where they lost, and they got honestly dominated too. So right now, Columbus Crew have LAFC's number, and straight up they're in their heads.
They own
LAFC were pathetic in the first half. They gave absolutely nothing. Now I will say the second half was a lot better. They made a couple of changes. They took off Atuesta. They eventually took off Ilya Sanchez and just brought on a little bit more athletic, imposing midfielders, and that definitely did help. But overall, Columbus is just by far the better team. The much better team from back to front. They just play football way better than LA does.
They shriveled up, bro. Yeah. LAFC shriveled up, and it's so disappointing because you see this team just dominate on their way to the final. 3, 4, so many goals in these runs to the final that the moment you buy into them, it's frustrating because we bought into LAFC when it came to predictions to see them play this way, dude. I think it really is a mental factor that Columbus Crew has over them, and it's so annoying how it took 65 minutes to see any sort of sign offensively from LAFC. And even then, it was a goal that Bogu scored, but it was offside. That was the first sign of offense that we got from them. And then ultimately, it was through that sort of momentum that they built around that time where Giroud got on the board and he scored for them, which was cool to see in the moment, tying the match up. I thought that would be the momentum switch needed for LAFC to go on and win the game. But after that, Columbus Crew got back on the ball. Cucho started thinking really naughty things, and he delivered, dude, on the biggest stage. Man. And it leads me to a question because our boy Fabian Renkel, we met him at MLS All-Star Weekend.
Yeah.
Our boy Fabian, he tweeted something that has me thinking. I want to ask you, but he says, is Cucho Hernandez the greatest MLS player of all time?
I mean, no, just because Messi's definitely here, and he also won a Leagues Cup in his first try. Cucho Hernandez also has won an MLS Cup, right? That actually is huge. Maybe if he wins the MLS Cup this year, back-to-back.
The run is crazy.
Back-to-back MLS Cups with a Leagues Cup sandwich in between, I think would make him the best MLS player of all time. What'll be fun is if we get a Columbus Crew Inter Miami game, which we already saw, but this time with Messi, right? Because when they did play, there was no Messi. If that happens, the winner of that game obviously will make an even deeper playoff run. That would be really fun to see, because right now I think the two best teams in the league are Cucho's Columbus and Messi's Miami.
Just kind of pisses me off, man, because what was that Pachuca performance, man?
Yeah,
what was it? It's kind of like Leverkusen's Europa League final against Atalanta. Like,
dude.
They were one game away from being 3 major finals and winning them all, dude. That's how close they were. That would have been a ridiculous statement from Columbus Crew as one of the greatest, if not the greatest CONCACAF team that we've seen in the past 10 years at the very least. Like, the run that they would have gone on if they had won that game. But somehow, some way, Pachuca exposed this team, and pretty badly too, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The final was pathetic from Columbus's point of view. Pachuca killed them. Yeah. I don't know what it was, but well, I mean, honestly, it kind of leads into the fact that if you do host games in Mexico, you just get different results, man. Columbus went down to Pachuca and couldn't handle it. I think you'd see a lot more Mexican wins if a lot more of these Leagues Cup games were in Mexico. We've said that time and time again. But either way, the Columbus Crew lift this trophy. It is pretty crazy that a year on, usually in a league where it's tough for a team to repeat their performance from a season before, Columbus are still probably the best team in the MLS 9 months later.
Right.
I'm actually very impressed by it. Like, everyone's still playing at an incredibly high level. They have a great understanding with one another, and Cucho Hernandez, Cristian Ramirez, and Diego Rossi probably is the best front line in the MLS, maybe right next to Messi's Inter Miami when Messi is healthy. So it is pretty crazy how good Columbus have been for such a long time. So props to them, and I expect them to make a very deep run in the playoffs this year.
I'm excited for the playoffs.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
The narrative is now building Columbus, Inter Miami. Those seem to be the 2 top teams. Who's going to get that trophy? I'm interested to see, man. But for now, congratulations to any Columbus Crew fans that listen to the pod. Major victory here, getting the Leagues Cup after getting the MLS Cup last year. Amazing performance. They absolutely deserved it. Elsewhere, other places that I want to go to real quick is actually Brazil.
Okay.
Because we talked about Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamericana earlier this week, and I've got my eyes on Copa Libertadores specifically. And to be more detailed, we have a quarterfinal matchup of Fluminense versus Atlético Mineiro happening a month from now. That I think is going to be really, really fun to watch. But what should give a good indication of how that match is going is the matchup they had against each other this past weekend.
No way.
Yeah, they actually had that matchup 3 days after the Copa Libertadores quarterfinals were set.
Nice. And
Fluminense dominated Atlético Mineiro to win 2-0. John Arias scoring a goal, and then Kevin Serna also scoring. Colombian duo cooking for this Brazilian side.
Hell yeah.
And Fluminense with this victory now, because remember they were in the relegation zone, they're now 2 points clear of the relegation zone. So this is actually a very big game for Fluminense where they needed to get a result and they stepped up. I had said in the preview that I thought Atlético Mineiro would be the team to win in this matchup, but now they got me questioning it because this Atlético Mineiro side looked uninspired against Fluminense. And I do think you kind of mentioned it. Fluminense has an ability to play up to a really high level when they kind of just lock in. And it feels like they just haven't really done that most of the season. But when it matters the most, they do it, as we saw in the Copa Libertadores matchup against Gremio. And they do it here as well against Atlético Mineiro to make a statement. So I'm flipping the prediction now. I'm going Fluminense wins that matchup because they just got that big game mentality.
Oh, nice, man. It's crazy that Fluminense, they were in the relegation zone for so long. Bro. But they're out. Maybe things are turning. Maybe. There's a couple more months left in the Brasileirao, so here's to them just seeing it through and low-key maybe making another deep Libertadores.
That'd be crazy, bro, if they go back to the final.
That'd be crazy,
I'd be so mad. I'd be so mad.
That'd be crazy.
And then the other game that I caught was in Liga MX. My first Liga MX game in a while was between Toluca and San Luis. 1 p.m. Central Time and Nemesio Diaz. That after church type vibe, bro.
Yeah.
Nothing better than watching midday Toluca on a Sunday, bro. Nothing better, man. So you get to see those Red Devils go up against San Luis, who we've known to be a team that's exciting. Feisty team, bro. Yeah. And they still got our boy Vitinha up on the wings, cooking for this team, doing the absolute most that he can. And then obviously a team built of so many different foreigners, so much variety. You got a French guy, you got an Italian center back, you got Mexicans on here. It's crazy to see this Atletico just come together to form such a goofy squad, but they are able to compete because right now they're in the playoffs. I think they're like in 7th or 8th place going into this match, and Toluca was only one spot above them. Toluca ends up getting the result 2-1 at home.
Nice.
Honestly deserved because they have a really good attack. And that's what I want to highlight today is their attack of Alexis Vega, who we know when he locks in is one of the better Mexican players in the league. Jesus Angulo, who can pull the strings in that attacking midfield role if needed. And then Paulinho, who I've mentioned before as an interesting transfer. Toluca getting Jesus Gallardo as well in the summer transfer window, I believe. But Paulinho coming from Sporting CP at 31 years old, Portuguese guy in Liga MX, is balling out, dude. And the thing is, I think he's the real deal. Yeah. I really do, because today he has such a clean finish on the break, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Very smart, very composed, puts it into the back of the net. I just like to see it, man. I like to see the type of play that when he has the opportunity, he steps up and he nails it, man. He's very clinical, seems like a smart player, and I like his energy. I like the passion that he's showing so far in that Toluca jersey. I think he was an amazing signing, and I think he already has 4 goals this season in like 5 games.
Yeah,
so he's looking really, really good. And now they move into 3rd place in Liga MX. I do think the only weak spot for Toluca, which tends to be the same thing for Toluca, because if we're honest, they always have a really good attack. Their defense, bro. Yeah. Their center backs are concerned with Garcia and Mendes. That center back duo. They've had a pretty mediocre season so far. If you look at like the ratings for each player in the starting 11, it's those two that have the lowest ratings, bro. It's a little frustrating because I feel like we've seen this story with Toluca time and time again, where they have such good offensive talent and even midfield talent with Marcel Luis in that midfield, now paired up with an American. Amaya, I believe.
Yeah.
Frankie Amaya.
Yeah,
which is a kind of cool little midfield duo there, USA and Mexico. It's the backline that's a little concerning. You have Gallardo and Garcia, who are great fullbacks, but the center backs, man, I just don't think live up to the level of those 2 fullbacks, and then even Volpi, who's a great Liga MX goalkeeper. So if Toluca wants to go deep, they got to shore up that defense. I hope to see better performances from the center back specifically, but I think that's going to ultimately dictate the ceiling of this Toluca side. Regardless, I think it's really exciting. I really do. And I think they have the chance to make Liga for sure, and then we'll see from there.
Yeah, I don't have much to add other than I think the signings that they did make this transfer window, they have them playing the best offense since Leo Fernandez was there. So I actually do think Toluca can make a deep run into the playoffs this year in the Liga. Very exciting for Toluca. Honestly, I thought they were going to go to the semifinals in the Leagues Cup and probably meet America there, but I think they just ended up losing. I think it was on penalties or something like that, but Toluca couldn't make a deep Leagues Cup run like I thought they would, but they did show that crazy offensive signs that they definitely possess this year. So definitely going to keep an eye on Toluca because they look like a really fun team this year.
Yeah, undefeated in Liga MX, 3 wins, 2 draws so far. It's early. Yeah. It's early, but let's see what Toluca does. I just want to highlight them. And any Toluca fans, let me know what you think about your team this season, because I want to see Toluca like thrive, dude. They're like probably my second favorite Liga MX team behind Chivas, if I'm being honest. Just love their stadium. I love the energy that team has. Love the jersey. I just want to see them lift the title for once, man.
Dude, I know.
It's been a while.
Yeah.